Hey, AJK on YouTube here. I want to welcome you guys to a little detour from the typical video that we would be doing here, where we would be doing some goofs, gaffs, and laughs, and we're going to do a more serious video today. This past Saturday, July 14th, 2018, my dad had a stroke in the morning after a long road trip. My mom was woken up to my dad asking for help, saying something's wrong, something's not right, and hitting the bed. His speech was funny. Maybe his face looked a little droopy. Those are the signs of the stroke. It's fast. Face is drooping. Arm is having a hard time coming up. S is for speech. Speech is slurred. That's a really good indicator. And T is for time. It's time to call 911. There's no time to waste. Be sure to call it. That's exactly what my mom did. And the ambulance came to our house. He was taken to the hospital. He was then life-flighted to Toledo. The hospital is Mercy St. Vincent Hospital. And from there he was taken care of. I woke up later that morning and found out what had happened. I went home and I picked up Ben and Abby, two of my three siblings, and we drove to Toledo to meet my mom and Aunt Ruby there. From there it was just kind of a waiting game. We waited to see what would happen. My dad was in the ICU unit. So we, one by one, us kids, we went in and saw him for a little bit. He was in a lot of pain. His speech was not very good that first day, and he was really irritable. His head hurt a lot. His legs hurt him a lot. One leg was like completely numb. We went on from there into Sunday. He actually moved out of ICU. I forget if it was that first night. My aunt and her friend Phyllis came and they helped out. We got food and stuff. And then later, Abby, Ben, Ruby, Brenda, and Phyllis left. And it left me and Mom there to take care of Dad. Well, of course, with the medical staff too. They helped out a lot. We actually spent the night there, Saturday night into Sunday. Dad was out of ICU. He was in step-down care, which is really good compared to ICU. It was insane. That night, we heard rumors that he might be getting out Monday. So we were talking to him about, well, when should we leave? And we were talking about leaving in the morning so that we could go shower and prepare for the discharge. I didn't think I'd be taking him home, so I was like, okay, I'll go home, and Mom, you can be picked up by whoever to go get him. No big deal. And Dad's like, oh, you guys are going home tonight, right? I was like, all right, Dad, I guess we're going home tonight. So his speech was much better. We weren't very worried, and so we left Sunday night. And then the next day, we found out that there was fluid forming around his heart and lungs, so his heart and his lungs, making it harder for him to breathe and function. And I mean, this is unrelated from the stroke, so we were like what the heck is going on with this guy? I mean, like, we didn't expect all these problems to happen, but here we were. So his heart was weak, and they had to figure out what to do about that. And I had plans to hang out with Nick, and Mom was like, I need to go back to the hospital because he's not getting out tonight. We need to figure out what's wrong with his heart. And I was like, well, shoot, you're right. We need to go back. Nick and I took Mom to the hospital, and we hung out with Dad for a little bit. And Nick made a bunch of jokes. He's a really funny guy, you know. If you know Nick, you know he's hilarious, and he can pretty much brighten anybody's day. And that's exactly what he did at the hospital. I mean, you could tell on Dad's face that he was happy to see somebody, you know, besides immediate family. After that, Nick and I left, came back to Brian. I was like, cool, you know, we're good now. So Tuesday came, and Ben and Abby went to visit Dad again. I had actually called off work on Sunday. I was scheduled to work on Sunday. And then on Tuesday, I made a pretty big decision. I actually resigned from my work at Menards to go and be with Dad through this time because I didn't know how long I would be there. Menards completely understood, and they were really nice about it. And from that point, I left to go to the hospital with Dad. By the time I got there, Abby and Ben and Ruby had left. This time, Dad was in step-down care, so I slept in his room with him, and so did Mom that night. Wednesday came and Tabby arrived. That was really great because Tabby was working like 4.5 to of 5.5 hours north of us, and she had the day off, so she came down to Toledo to be with us. Yeah, you could tell that Dad like needed that. He definitely needed that. He did some tests on Wednesday for his heart. He didn't have any clots in his heart. I guess we should talk about what actually happened with the stroke. 3 parts of his brain were killed because blood flow to the brain was stopped or reduced significantly by a or multiple blood clots somewhere in his body. And so when the brain does not get blood in certain areas, those parts of the brain die. They never come back. They can never come back once they're dead. And so if you lose significant portions of your brain, such as speech, memory, or motor skills, sometimes you can't relearn those things and they're just permanently gone. And that was something we were really worried about. Dad was extremely blessed and only got 3 minor areas of his brain killed off by the stroke, but most of his skills seem to be okay right now. So it's pretty fantastic, really. I mean, to come out of it with that few deficits. The reason why his stroke happened was he had done a lot of physical exertion, and then he had a resting period, but he was supposed to be on blood thinners, but he and my mom were trying an herbal substitute. It's called CoQ10. I would advise everybody, if you are supposed to be on some kind of blood thinner, really do your research on what you should be doing and get a lot of different opinions, because if he would have been on a blood thinner, this might not have happened. That wasn't, something natural or herbal. And I'm not saying that those things don't work, but maybe they don't work for some people, or maybe there's a reason why it didn't work for him. I don't really know, but I highly encourage you to do your research and make sure that everything works in your body if there's an issue that arises. So Wednesday was done. Mom ended up spending the night in a room called a home away from home, and this is something that Mercy St. Vincent provides for free. It accepts donations if you have donations to give, but it's like this really nice room where you can sleep in if you live at least an hour away. And man, that was a blessing for her, blessing for me too, because I ended up being able to get a shower in. We stayed Wednesday night into Thursday. So Thursday came and Dad had a bunch of pain in his side. I wasn't sure if it was his spleen or what. We didn't know what was going on. We were waiting for cardiology to discharge him, and he had all that pain and he felt like he couldn't breathe. So we had him get a CT scan on that area. It came back with nothing, and he's been dealing with sleep apnea, which is where you kind of stop breathing when you're sleeping, and you wake up and you're like, you're gasping for air. We were waiting for a while for those results to come back, and they all came back negative, so they didn't know exactly what was causing it. And they're like, you just gotta kind of go to a primary care provider or whatever and have them figure it out. So the road is not over, but he was discharged. We drove him home in the Oilermobile. Mission accomplished. He's back home in Bryan, and thank God. I'm gonna show some footage right now of my dad right before we were about to leave, 6 days after the stroke initially happened, so you can tell how much his speech might have improved from that first day just by this video.
I'm getting discharged.
You getting discharged?
Yeah, by the Army. I mean, the hospital.
Oh, yeah. Good. How long have you been in?
Too long. What? 4 days? 5 days? 6 days. I lost count. I had a stroke. We had went to Mackinac after visiting Tabitha, and then we drove all the way from Mackinac back to Bryan, Ohio. Well, I did. People were just with me, and the next morning, I told my wife that something was not right. I mean, more than normally. And so I had some issues with from the stroke and causing slurring. So I still got some words to work on, guys, but I got a lot of things to do yet. And so, yeah, that's pretty much about. I got a free ride in a life flight, helicopter. So I did actually get to see some of the scenery, but people were real good to me there and here. So I really appreciate everybody to keeping me alive, and mostly God for keeping. So I'm still alive with everybody. And thanks for all the prayers. And thanks for my family. I wouldn't be here without them. And hopefully I get everything back the way I used to be. I mean, some people might not want me the way I used to be, but got a long life. At least I think so, anyways. And thanks for everybody and what you've done to keep us going and keep me. Keep me going, and thanks for everything.
So yeah, there you have it. Thank God for us making it back, and I want to say thank you to everybody that supported us this whole time. I mean, without you guys, this would have been extremely difficult. We had hundreds of people liking posts, commenting, acknowledging what was going on, saying words that really boosted our spirits in this difficult time, and it means a lot to me, you guys, so thank you very much. And just thank you guys for being there for the Kittle family. A lot of my friends that don't even really know my family were willing to give their support, and I mean, that says a lot about your character, that you're willing to say something nice or just give your support even though you don't really fully understand the situation. And thank you guys. God bless, love you all, and have a good one.